Glad to hear that.
Welcome to the KiloBit show, everyone. Today, we got some topics from Motherboards to Google Fiber, so you can join us in
That's
that
the
department. Yeah, BioStar gaming motherboard.
well, the words bio and star are kind of cool sounding, so I'm sure it's really good.
All right.
What do you think, Ian? Yeah, we'll pass that
Well,
one to you.
all right. So you've heard of like companies like Asus, MSI. What about ASRock? Have you ever heard of them?
No,
Okay, but you know
I know
MSI.
ASIC miners. ASIC developed a whole bunch of cryptocurrency
No.
miners.
Just like computer companies like Acer or
Acer. Oh, okay.
Acer. No, what am I saying Acer for? Asus. You ever heard of Asus?
No,
What about MSI?
no,
Gigabyte?
no.
You're killing me, dude.
What did they develop?
Well, Asus and MSI and Gigabyte all make laptops, for one. Asus, well, they all make graphics cards as well. So that's kind of their niche, but they also make motherboards. They all manufacture motherboards. I have an MSI in my computer right now. I used to have an Asus before that. And so BioStar or ASRock also makes motherboards. It's kind of their only thing that they do. But
Hmm.
BioStar is kind of one of those companies that no one really hears about very much in the motherboard department. So it's kind of interesting to see that they have gaming motherboards out now that actually look high quality and everything, because the stuff that they've been putting out over the past however long they've really been alive as a company has been kind of cheap shit, you know what I mean? They work,
Well,
but that's it.
I think PC gaming is becoming increasingly popular. I know lots of people, even people who aren't very like technical, they don't like play with circuit boards or anything. But all you have to do to assemble a PC is have, some funds available to you, and be able to read instructions. I mean, putting together PC components is really easy.
Hmm.
And I know like 13-year-olds who are building their PC games and then using Steam and having access to the greater library of PC games, higher quality gaming experience. Um, you know, you're not restricted to a platform or a single input method. Like you can have your mouse, keyboard, and also different controllers.
Hmm.
You have more access to indie games. So I'm not surprised that you would see this shift, because it's something. Building a PC is something that a casual someone who's casually interested in gaming can actually do
Yeah. I
if they have
know.
the flexibility.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, typically use a mouse and keyboard with a PC or Mac or Linux or whatever, but you can also plug in maybe a Bluetooth controller or keyboard, play wirelessly, like you can with the Xbox or PS3, whatever, wireless controllers. But you can also use those same controllers if you have an adapter. Like I have, it's back put away, but it's basically a USB dongle that you
Mhm.
can sync Xbox controllers up to.
Yeah, there are Xbox controllers that you can purchase that come with a USB as their
Yeah,
bus.
yeah, and those are pretty
Yeah,
easy. You just plug in and it should work just fine.
yeah. I think and in platform exclusive games, that's kind of what they're like clinging onto for consoles. But if you look at the list of games that are available to a PC gamer as opposed to any one console,
Hmm.
uh, you'll definitely find the PC gaming more expansive.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
also been popularized on Reddit, for example. And there's like the
PC
satirical
Master
subreddit
Race.
PC Master
PC
Race,
Master
but
Race.
at the same time, they are right about a lot of things, and a lot of people are
Yep.
are casual users are getting into PC gaming. It used to be something that like
Yeah,
only people like yourself might be into.
mhm. Yeah, if you know a lot and how to put everything together. But there's tons of videos on YouTube. Just look them up. Look up how to. I know Austin, Evans, and I think Jay's 2 Cents also made like just a how to build, a gaming PC pretty much, how to choose parts. And they don't really go into all the specifics because that's just going to confuse everyone. They just say, okay, well, this is pretty good for this reason. Buy it, and it'll work good. Well, but
So I mean, regarding the actual specifications of the motherboard, I mean, I don't even know what parameters are involved and how good motherboards are.
the
Because
main
to my knowledge, motherboards don't do any processing; they just serve as a communication
they do processing.
infrastructure. Okay.
Yeah, they do processing. The chipset is right there on the motherboard. That's why you see heat sinks on them. The it's not really processing, but it's like power processing as well. There's heat sinks for those usually. On the better higher end motherboards, you get the VRM heat sinks that help cool that down, because if you're doing overclocking, you're putting more power to the CPU. So all those VRM modules have to put more power out, and they're doing processing power, and
See, when
they
you say
get hot.
that, what I'm
They
thinking
just
is
get
that
hot.
the motherboard is somehow regulating the power that gets sent to the processor from the
Mhm.
power supply. But I don't think that I mean, in what ways is the motherboard something other than just a network of tubes where data transfers from various, like, computing units, like the
all
CPU?
the all the what's the word, like, not chipsets, it might be chipsets maybe, but like for your USB 3, for your Ethernet, all that's on the motherboard. You have a main chipset that's kind of like almost a secondary CPU, and then you have all the other smaller little chips that you don't see a heatsink on, but those are managing your Ethernet, your USB, and
Okay.
those show up in your operating system as whatever device that is.
Oh, okay, yeah. This is like when you go into Device Manager and you see like US 3.0 adapter.
Hmm.
So the motherboard it interprets data sent in from all of your buses.
Yeah.
Okay, and then it feeds that to central processing unit, for example.
Hmm.
Okay, that's cool. So then what makes them? So then what is? So like, is a high quality motherboard really important for gamers who want like high quality audio and high quality video because it needs to be able to process, without loss and quickly like high quality audio and feed that out and feed that in or something? Or why should gamers be interested in that?
It looks cool.
It looks cool. Oh, okay. So they really shouldn't be interested.
That's not all it is though. They do throw in some more bells and whistles, and they're calling a lot of these motherboards gaming. Like, they put gaming in the title. My
Yeah, but what
motherboard
does
is
that mean?
actually a gaming motherboard. It they usually come with some kind of color scheme. They usually have better heat sinks, and what else? What else do they have? They also usually have better VRM modules as well. Mainly
Okay,
because people
and
who
what does that mean for performance?
basically, there's a big gaming market of overclockers, and when you overclock, things get hotter because they use more power.
Yeah.
So that's one reason, and they also build it so that they can make a badass looking system. Have the window on the side, all the LEDs or whatever, and have it all flashy and stuff like that. So if people are gonna
I
see
think
it, you want it to have better visual quality, I guess.
So I think the big thing is that if you are running your central processing unit at above factory specifications, you need a motherboard that has better dissipation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which is what gamers do
Dissipation
all the time.
for the power, one, and two.
The power being supplied to the CPU.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So on mine, I think it's an 8 phase, 8+2 phase, which means that the power coming in from the power supply is getting filtered 8 times for the CPU, and then twice for the RAM, I believe. And so when you overclock and you're sending more power through, if you have more phases to clean the power from it having a sine wave or whatever, and you just have a flat, even voltage going into the processor, then you're going to get a clean running solid system, and it's not going to crash or anything like that. But for a general user who's just building a computer and it's just doing email or whatever, then those types of motherboards are cheap, like $30 probably, $40, and they probably only have like 3 phases, like a 3+1. But I know
So it's
some
about
of
the power management.
yeah, power management.
Well, I imagine it's actually pretty. So I mean, so for laptops, can you get better power management motherboards so that your battery lasts longer?
No, that it doesn't quite work like that. The the VRM doesn't like take less power. It's the same
Okay, it
power
doesn't
going to the
improve
CPU.
efficiency. Okay.
It does, but it doesn't.
Okay.
So
In what sense does it actually improve efficiency?
it makes your system more stable when you're overclocking, basically.
Okay. Only when you're overclocking, but as
Pretty
opposed to
much.
when you're not,
Yeah.
it's no different.
That's why
Oh,
non-overclocking boards only have like 3 phases. I don't know how much laptops have. I imagine your like giant monster gaming notebooks have more than your netbook. The for the RAM, I'm actually surprised they don't have more VRMs for the RAM. Because in mine it's a 12+2, I believe, or an 8+2. So you're cleaning it 8 times for the CPU and twice for the RAM, but why not just make both 8? Kind of doesn't really make that much sense to me.
yeah, I mean, I don't. When you overclock your CPU, the whole point is that you increase the performance of your whole system, which means there's going to be more shuttling of memory across the RAM. So
Right, right.
I guess I'm a bit confused too. Maybe it's just not necessary for that power regulation to be as good
As
for the
clean,
RAM.
yeah. It makes sense because you have a giant heat sink on a CPU, and then you look at RAM as just like a heat spreader, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah.
Plate of metal. Well, we can move on to
So
the next topic then.
yeah, yeah. What do you have in mind?
Are tablets a dead market?
I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. It's because in a lot of my classes, a lot of people have very well integrated, uh, like note-taking systems that are across various tablet devices. The ones that I think are the best are the Microsoft Surface Pros with OneNote and associated Office products like Excel. It's really, really good for taking handwritten notes, developing flowcharts. Microsoft has its own software now. I think it's called like Visio or something that lets you develop flowcharts. You can put Excel files in. You can write over like PDFs that your professor gives you. So if your professor has notes laid out beforehand, you can write in on your Surface. And then of course you have your cloud services. So every classroom has access to Wi-Fi, so you don't have to worry about having multiple notebooks or forgetting your notebook, and you can access your notes anywhere. But there are competing note-taking devices. So at least in the student world, there's competition among tablets for like how do they how good are they for the student? How good are they for note-taking? Um,
And I've actually seen people do that where they're using their tablet in that form. For me personally, I think that's cool. I think that's one way of doing it, but I need pencil and paper. It's just give me an actual pencil and an actual piece of paper, because sometimes I just don't want to look at a screen.
I think for me the problem is when I'm learning, like these highly formatted, highly integrated things are really cool. Uh, when it's like, oh, I can do this, and then I select the Marquee tool, and I can shift up here. But in the actual process of learning, it's so messy, and like I
Hmm.
don't actually know what my notes are going to look like before I write them down, and
Yeah.
I don't know what the most relevant equations are before I've applied them. And so yeah, for me personally, I find that pencil and paper just scratching with barely any form is the best learning.
Yeah. And at least in the old form, when you had to use this style of stylus where it had the conductive, like, rubber tip rather than an actual um, what's it called? Wacom makes them where it's like a
It's just a
digital.
hard plastic
Yeah,
stylus tip.
like the Note, the Samsung Galaxy Note series has those types of styluses,
Styli.
styli.
You know.
Got some of that styli, David?
Oh yeah,
You like using styli? I like using styli.
that should be a new slang term.
I should. Um, and also in the engineering living learning community, they all got iPads for school, I guess. I
Hmm.
think I don't know if they keep them or not, but they all get them. And
It's
some of
kind
them
of
use them, some of them don't. I probably wouldn't end up using an iPad for that. Um, Mainly because I'm not an Apple person, but
yeah. I
I'd probably
think
still use it to like watch videos or whatever.
one thing I'd really like to see is like a software for for lab note taking. That would be really cool. I feel like because it'd be really because one of the big issues with like labs is that you're not allowed to erase any of the data you have,
Hmm.
and so that is where a tablet is very powerful because you can just save drafts and you can timestamp everything, um, and have a very clear digital history of what you were doing in lab. And also if you could like spontaneous like generate tables really well, generate like structured data sets, which is what computers are really good at, and is what you're doing in a lab anyways, that would
Oh,
be phenomenal. So if there's one thing that I would like to see, be like some kind of software where it's like, open up a lab, take down some data, say like, oh no, this is bad stuff. Okay, save that draft, retain these elements, and then I'm going to do some editing because those data were bad. Okay, take these data
you're
in
cutting
these
out a little bit,
columns
David.
and rows. Oh, I'm sorry. Anyways,
Yeah,
it's like something with like an Excel
connection just took a
functionality.
shit.
Are we not on?
No, we're still on. It's just your connection.
Oh, my connection.
Yeah,
My bad.
it's
Okay,
all good.
then you can
We
talk.
can still hear you.
Yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead. You were
but
saying.
that's what I'm interested in. That's just what I'm interested in personally. But that's because I'm like uh,
It's
in
interesting
those.
you mentioned that because everything has a carbon copy, right? Every page that you write on.
Mhm.
So, whatever happened to memos in the workplace that had carbon copies? Now you just see that in emails. CC.
Yeah, I mean, carbon copy. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
when is that going to come to labs? That'd be really interesting. because I've never
Yeah,
seen. Well, actually, my last semester's lab instructor tried to get like the pre-labs and stuff where you just print them out and then you do it on the paper and then you turn it in. But every lab that we had to do was handwritten on paper and pen.
yeah.
And
And
then
that's just
if we
really
had to make
inefficient.
some graphs, we'd use Excel to punch in all the data values. But we had to manually put in all those values, which you would anyway,
And
but you would
you
have
have to
already
do it
had
twice.
that data set that you could have just transferred to Excel then.
And you know what was silly? Is we had to print graphs and stick them into like cut and paste them into our notebook. It's just
Okay,
absurd.
that's kind of stupid, honestly.
That yeah, that's just absurd. So I think uh, if it were integrated, I don't know how well OneNote works. I think the tablet market is actually made for casual users, but I feel like it has a lot of potential for like technical applications, um,
Like
like
when we
graphic
went
design.
to downtown Seattle to that comedy club,
Yeah,
they didn't have their registers or anything right there in front of
no,
them.
they just had that iPad.
They just
Yeah,
had the iPad, and that seems like a somewhat practical use for it. Instead of
yeah,
these
I think
giant things, they can have that in the back room or whatever if someone needs cash back, or turn around behind you where it's not right in front, and just have
mhm.
all your um, banking right there for people paying to
Yeah,
get in. And then the connection, although on iPad it's kind of, I hate the connection on iPads because they use proprietary connectors. But if you just have a tablet and USB adapters to plug in and swipe a card, Apple does have that too, where you plug it in and swipe the card, and she did that
mhm.
too. So
Yeah, I think definitely in the service industry, kind of the modular, you know, tablets are really useful because it's like I
oh
think
yeah,
tablets
like
really
the
occupy.
Transformer series from Asus.
Oh, what
You have the tablet and then you dock it into the keyboard.
yeah, that kind of like usability is really really cool, and that's one thing I would like. Imagine if you're in lab and you're like, well, now I'm going to write down some observations. Well, my typing speed is 70 words per minute, my writing speed is 30 words per minute. So I'm just going to dock it into this, or you have the tablet covers actually a keyboard. You type in, and that's that. But if you do use a stylus, then you use a stylus. That's,
Yeah, dude, the
um,
connection is really terrible right now.
and folks who are having
There's a
technical difficulties.
solid 8 pixels on the screen.
Solid 868. Me for JPEG. They might be throttling me. I don't know. Alan, what are you playing? Are you playing Billboards? Oh, he's playing Netflix. They're probably throttling us.
Oh.
No, no, don't worry about it. No, you're totally fine.
Here?
Yeah, yeah, it's totally. It's because well, I mean, it's not just you. I think we're occupied rooms, lit by two rooms. There's like this room and the next room because our breakers are connected. No, no, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, so I learned that our rooms have pairs of breakers because when I shorted out our circuit when I was trying to fiddle with
The microwave?
the no, not with the microwave, with the light fixture.
Just the
I
light
sh-
fixture?
Yeah, just the light fixture. So I actually don't know why this is the case. Now that I think about it, now that I've actually studied circuits, but if you put the ground on one end of the light fixture and the live on the other end, you'll actually short out the breaker. And I'm not sure why that is.
It's really weird.
Maybe it's because if you put the live on the wrong end, that's attached to the ground, so you just get it just shorts out. Yeah, I wasn't sure
That doesn't
why
make
that.
sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense either because if you were to put the out wire on the side with the ground, then it would still short if the live wire were on the live site. So I don't know why it shorted out the way it did, but it did. And so there is a way in which you have to wire a light bulb fixture. I mean, I think it's more complicated than like the light bulbs we use in lab, because the light bulbs we use in lab, you can do your positive, negative terminal on either end, AC or DC, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally shorted down.
Well, let's move on to our next topic.
Oh, yeah. Just kind of random.
I don't really have much to say, but I was kind of pointed out to a friend of mine how he wanted a multi-monitor setup, and he only had one, and then he bought an external monitor for his laptop, and he's like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing, I can get so much more done. And I heard a similar story, but kind of opposite, from Jay, and he said that he finds 3 monitors, like if you have a stereoscopic, not stereoscopic, just a triple monitor setup, that it actually decreases productivity.
Yeah, I think it depends on the person. I mean, it depends on what kind of applications are you using, because sometimes that extra monitor can just be your social media monitor.
Mm-hmm.
But I personally, like when I'm programming in MATLAB, I'll have my script file, I'll have my command prompt, and then I'll have my homework assignment. And in that case, a 3-monitor setup would be very ideal, because I could alternate between the script file, where I actually write the code, the command prompt where I can check bug fixes or do or find like documentation on certain commands,
Mm-hmm.
and then the homework, which actually has the problems that I need to solve.
Yeah. And I find myself in a similar position. Sometimes I'll split one monitor in half between what I need to do, like the homework problems, and then maybe kind of a helpful tutorial, or maybe I'm Googling something to try and figure out how to do it, and then my other window where I'm actually typing it out, stuff like that. But then on a more media concerned note, I'll have like Reddit open on one and then YouTube on the other.
It's a bit distracting. It's too much stimulation.
So if I only need 2 monitors, like I'm getting something off Blackboard, which is our online
Gosh, that's so
where
archaic.
grades
I
and
feel
stuff.
bad for you.
What, Blackboard?
Yeah, I know. Like, we switched to Canvas, which is infinitely better.
Oh my gosh, I wish we could switch to Canvas. I miss Canvas.
Yeah, Canvas is good.
Yeah. It's not as, there's not as many links. It's all just one page pretty much.
Yeah, it's got a good directory system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Blackboard's kind of all over the place, but
Blackboard, I feel like they designed for all their technophobic old professors who are like, they copy down the link and put it in their syllabus, and it's like, go to http // domain name.du / show sniffer equals true, like where you have like HTML tags that are like that aren't actually part of like what the domain URL should be.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because because of the cache or something. Like, that's literally what my OChem professor did.
Wow.
Like, he just like gave you a link to it, like directly to the homework, not even to like the main homework page.
Yeah.
And what's funny is they developed it around it, so like you can actually just put it your login. Like, no matter what part of the site you ask, you try to access, the online homework system will just ask you for your credentials, and then it will just load you right into the whatever page is the correct URL. Like, they appeal to this.
The Blackboard kind of does that. So if I have a page open and it timed out or whatever, and I go to click on something else, then it'll ask for your credentials, and then it'll take you back to that page. Or I can pull open another tab, sign into Blackboard, and everything works just fine in my other tabs. So I mean, there are some pluses and minuses. They overhauled it over Christmas break, and
Mhm.
it's a little better, but it's still kind of hard to navigate. So for 3D printing, the library here on campus has a 3D printer, and it's not public yet. I'm on the team that is trying to make it like a public service where you can go in and ask
For
or
something.
yeah, and build something. But it's kind of cool. I went to go pick up this piece here, which is part of a project I'm working on right now, and they just had it waiting like a book. It was just on the shelf like a book. It's kind of cool. But this project here, this is a really boring piece. The more intricate part is still in the works. I'm not sure if I'll have to print the other one in multiple pieces and then glue them together or not. But basically, it is a cup holder phone mount. So this goes in the cup holder, and then it's modular, so I can print whatever piece I want to match for my phone, and I can slide it in and lock it into place. And it sits in my car, and the cool thing is that I can turn it for whichever side I want, get it in my position, so that'll be pretty cool. And having it custom made for the size of your phone, so it'll always be perfect every single time, is really awesome.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, like one of my favorite projects that I heard about, I'm not sure if it actually was developed, was this guy who planned to make a database of all the manuals of devices like vacuum cleaners, microwaves, washing machines, all those things, and put up their actual schematics onto like onto just like a database that you could access through the internet.
I think I know what you're talking about, actually.
Yeah, yeah, and that I thought that
website.
was so cool. Oh, do you know what the website name is?
I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I know it's like 3dsharing.com, something like that, or it's not Makey, that's a different company. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but they share 3D prints, and other people can download and then print them. And I know, I think the librarians in charge of the 3D printer are trying to print a human brain, which will be really interesting to see how that works out and the quality of the results.
Will it be like cross-sectionally accurate? So like if you split it in half, or will it just be like an
Probably
exterior? Not. Okay.
Yeah, it'd probably be like we print several pieces and then glue them all together for one main piece. But yeah, this is interesting. This was like a 7.5 hour print. It was going to be a lot more, but they didn't change the infill to like, I think they had it set at like 50 or 60%, which this piece totally does not need that much of an infill. So they set it down to like 10% and shortened it.
Infill, is that a measure of like the grand the how is it the granality, I think is what you call it? Of like the
you can't see this right now, David, but everyone else can see the honeycomb structure that's kind of inside, and basically how thick that honeycomb structure is, kind of. So it's the percentage in volume inside this that is filled with plastic.
Oh,
as
okay.
supporting.
So there's a lot of air in there, basically.
Yes,
There's a lot unfilled volume.
which
Okay.
it doesn't feel like it, honestly. This thing's, when I picked it up, I was kind of surprised
It's
for
weighty.
only being a 10% infill. Yeah, this thing has a good weight to it. So that's in the works. Hopefully I can get that printed by next time. I can show that next time.
Yeah, we'll be excited to see
Last
that.
topic, because I need to get on out of here
Okay.
soon. Google Fiber now serious for expansion. David.
You know, in light of the god awful ISP debacles,
Like
in-
here at the college, yes.
like here at the college, like the Comcast in Philadelphia, where they took city money and said they were going to improve the infrastructure, but they just simply didn't do it. It, you know, and the fact that internet isn't even classified as a utility right now, Google, it's welcome news. Google is our savior.
All hail Google.
Yeah. Well, I mean, eventually Google could easily become, perpetrators just like Comcast in some sense, because that's just what happened.
Yeah,
But
hopefully they don't, though.
right-
I mean, the whole point of Google Fiber when they first launched it in the, 10 cities that they initially distributed it in,
those eastern cities, yeah.
they had no plan to actually like continue to spread out across the U.S.
Yeah, but I mean, like the reason companies like Google want better ISPs and even why they support like internet, even why they were anti-CISPA is because they profit from it. They profit from a free and proliferated internet, user base.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yeah, I mean there is no such thing as an altruistic corporation, but it is nice when the corporation's goals are in line with the people's goals, and I really want to see Google stick it to them, because right now it seems rather hopeless to classify, internet as as a utility and have Comcast and Time Warner and those people be subject to the same kind of constraints that utility companies are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good alternative. It's good compensation for what should actually be the case.
Yeah, hopefully they can push everyone to getting better internet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually really strange. I think I talked about this, how it's blazing fast speeds elsewhere on campus, but here in the dorms it's a different network supposedly, and we just get shit speeds. Terrible, awful, hate it. Especially like, it's evident right now. We can only upload 48p or 480p. We tried with 720p and it just doesn't work. I might be able to do 720p if I lower the bitrate enough, but I'm not sure exactly how that would come out at that point then, so maybe we'll play with it next time.
Experimentation.
Yeah, experimentation. How long have we been live?
I think we've been live for about 45, 50 minutes.
Nah, it hasn't been that long. I know it was after one that we started.
Really?
Anyway, do you have any other comments, concerns,
On this stuff.
complaints?
Well, of course, I don't really like my university internet that much either, but I'm not much of a gamer or anything, so, or even a streamer like that. I mean, I don't stream video, so it doesn't affect me that much.
Yeah. But even just when, you're browsing the interwebs and playing YouTube videos, that's where I notice it the most. Just because I can't watch any sort of high quality video.
Maybe it's just really bad for you. I can watch, I was just watching.
Well, you have double the speed that I do, so come on.
Yeah. I was just watching an online lecture in HD, so.
Yeah, I can't watch HD anything.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Especially since you're like in the middle of
I'm in the middle of a city,
Yeah.
surrounded by buildings that have blazing fast internet, and then what do we get here? Three down? Makes absolutely no sense. But
Can you So who manages the student apartments? Is it like a
That's the
separate
question.
entity?
No one knows. No one knows or can tell me who is the network administrator for this.
Are you being a real pain in the ass? Because that's the only way to get sometimes it's the only way to get the information you need.
By being a pain in the ass.
Yeah, by like incessantly asking
Yes.
and contact people.
And I just got sent in a loop last week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, oh, well, talk to this person. Well, I already talked to them. They said to talk to you. Well, then try to talk to this person. They told me nothing. They had no idea. That kind
How
of thing.
hard
It's just
is-
like, really?
How can you not know who the network administrator
By the
is?
way, these people that I'm talking to are the campus IT department.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's just, it blows my mind how they just don't know. They're probably just students that don't give a shit. So.
There's probably an insulating layer between.
Who knows who, and
Yeah.
who's just doing their job.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you all the best in your quest to rectify this great injustice.
How am I supposed to respond to that?
With laughter.
Rectification shall commence.
Good.
As soon as I become
like,
pain in
if
the
it
ass
was-
that I hear.
Yeah. The future seems bright.
Yes.
The future seems bright with upload speeds of 10 megabytes per second.
Dude, oh, the FCC finally, hopefully, I don't know if it was official or not, but they're trying to make broadband speeds right now. The what's it called? Like for an internet for an ISP to classify broadband internet, it has to be 4 down and 1 up, and they're trying to make it 25 down and 3 up.
Okay.
So
By that definition, you wouldn't have broadband internet.
yes.
Okay. So does that mean they'd have to like renegotiate the contract with the school because they're not providing?
I doubt it.
Okay.
Because this is all still owned by Boise State. So they'd probably just have to change something on the servers, I imagine.
Hmm.
I've been trying to find a way to get around it, but no help. Anyway, I gotta get out of here. So
Okay.
we'll see you next week.
Until then.